Thank you, everyone. Thank you for downloading another episode on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. This is the Detroit Sports Countdown Podcast. I am the Doc, John Macaroon. This podcast is where we rank the top 5 stories in the world of Detroit sports. As always, this podcast is produced by Kenneth Franzel. He is great. I shoot him a text message every week. He gives me a long list of things that have been going on this week in the world of Detroit sports, and I get to rank them. Oh, if you can hear the excitement in my voice, I'm sitting down recording this podcast just after the ESPN announcement of the college football playoff, and one of the teams has a special place in my heart. Michigan State has done it. They've met their goal for the year, and they're now in the college football playoff. And it's going to be a great next 25 days as we preview what Michigan State can possibly do against Alabama December 31st. Stay tuned, and you can see potentially where Michigan State making the playoff will rank on this podcast. All I can say is I enjoyed watching the game start to finish, and it was one of the proudest moments being a Spartan alumni that I've ever had. It was wild. It was a great finish. I was super excited, and now Michigan State has done something that really was the goal at the beginning of the year, to get to the college football playoff. You knew that you had a strong offensive line, defensive line, and you had the fifth-year quarterback in Connor Cook, and they were able to actually do it and not only get into the playoff, but earn their way to a number 3 seed. And as a Spartan alum, all you can do is smile. It's all good for the Michigan State program in 2015 because, as you recall, the basketball team also made the Final Four, but they were not expected. A lot of people might have had them losing that opening weekend, but they made the Final Four, and Michigan State football is also now on the map. They've made the college football playoff the second go-round of this version. They've done it, and it's a great story, and everyone that's a Michigan State Spartan fan is very happy as we speak. But let's get into what we call the Kenny Franzel honorable mentions, where there's some stories that don't make the top 5 in the world of Detroit sports this week, but are very interesting and also get on our radar and got on Kenny's radar as well. The first news story on the Kenny Franzel honorable mention goes to Dylan Larkin. He earned the NHL Rookie of the Month honors. He had a great month of November, and he was outstanding. You looked at several of the rookies that came out in the NHL class this year, and you were very fascinated, and you wanted to see what Dylan Larkin could do, and right away, he's shown that he can put the puck in the net, and he's already become a force in the NHL. I believe this is just the first of many accolades to come for Dylan Larkin. I mean, he's a great player. He's an unbelievable talent. And you knew something was special about him when he earned a roster spot at 19 years old. I mean, for him to be able to withstand the pressures of the NHL, come in and make a smooth transition, it's not that easy. And that's what you see with great players. They make the game look easy. And he's had some highlight goals, and he's a guy that is box office. And that's what you want to see in a young team, is guys that are going to be willing to put forth strong effort, have talent, and night in, night out, if you miss a game, you feel like, what did Dylan Larkin do? And he is that special generational talent, I do believe. You see it right away. And something that is really talked about a lot when people talk about Dylan Larkin is his poise, is his maturity for his age. We have to stop and remember, this dude's only 19 years old, and he's coming to the league, and with each interview that he does, he just sounds more poised. He sounds like a leader. He sounds like he's more than ready for the spotlight. And hockey players are a rare breed. They're usually really cool guys. They're great with the media, very accessible, nice to talk to. I've had a chance now in the last couple of weeks to talk to some hockey players, and they're just nice guys all around. You know, they really treat you with respect. They're nice, down-to-earth fellas, and they're easy to talk to. They should just do more talks in the media. I mean, I heard Dylan Larkin on the radio the other day, and he did great. And so Dylan Larkin has earned his first award, one of many, and he earns his first spot on the countdown as a Kenny Franzel honorable mention. All right, the Tigers made some news and notes, and I do believe they may have a story in the countdown if you stay tuned. But they signed, and he got a 2-year deal for $16 million, $8 million per. The Tigers went out and signed Mike Pelfrey for 2 years at $16 million. Now, just in talking to people, a lot of people didn't know who he was, and I can understand that because his 2015 numbers were really not that good. a 4.26 ERA, a scary whip of 1.48, which those of you who are not into advanced metrics, that's a pretty high. That's a pretty high whip for a pitcher, and a .304 opposing batting average. So his numbers coming off of the 2015 season with the Twins weren't that great, and a lot of people are really starting to talk about the market, where if you have a down season and you don't play well, that earns you $8 million in 2 years, and dude's 32 years old. And so, coming off of the Tigers signing of Jordan Zimmermann, we all thought, okay, good, maybe they need to add, a corner outfielder, they need to add more pieces, maybe get a lower tier starter, but a lower tier starter that has better numbers. My goodness, Alavila, please, that signing of Mike Pelfrey might come back to haunt us, and I'm not really excited about it at face value. But, like I said, the Tigers are right now trying to add pieces within a budget. I'm not really sure how Mike Pelfrey's going to fit in. He might fit in that 5 spot. He might be in the bullpen, but I'm not really confident as of this podcast recording that Pelfrey's going to really be a strong addition, but we shall see. He makes the Kenny Frenzel honorable mentions, and he's the newest starting pitcher for your Detroit Tigers. All right, let's get into this countdown podcast. I'm super excited to talk about the news and notes in the world of Detroit sports. I'm super dialed in. I love reading both newspapers, love following both radio stations. I just love following the world of Detroit sports, and I get a chance to just sit down and talk about it week in and week out, do the weekly podcast on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network, chat with my friends, chat with Kenny regarding everything that, excites me. And the first story on the countdown list, number 5, Mike Ilitch made his return, and okay, he is still alive. He looks strong and healthy, but the comments that he made at the Jordan Zimmermann press conference were very fascinating. And if you were dialed in, you really kind of got a glimpse because he took some questions, which was surprising. And one of the things that people in the media and the fans wanted to know about was what were his thoughts about the release and the quote-unquote firing of Dave Dombrowski. And Mike Ilitch came right away and said he wasn't really fired, in that he knew Dave Dombrowski knew that his contract was expired and we weren't likely to renew it, and that I just called and told him that at the time, his contract was going to end at the end of the year. We just called and let him know that his services were done early. And so he kind of just glossed over everything and said, well, we didn't win, so I moved on. He came off a little bit glib in my eyes, in that you had a guy in Dave Dombrowski who came in, was a well-respected baseball man, and he turned your franchise around. You got to remember, back in the early 90s, the Tigers were abysmal. They were playing similar to the Lions at this point throughout their whole franchise. But the Tigers, after 1987, had a really rough stretch of seasons marked by a 119-loss season. And Dave Dombrowski came in and slowly changed the culture. He instilled his philosophy of adding players. He added free agents. Now, the other side of that coin is when you added free agents, you definitely decimated the minor league system, and now we're starting to see the results of that. But the Tigers shifted philosophies, and Mike Ilitch went along with it. He can't just sit back and say, well, that was Dave Dombrowski's decision. Each and every big contract that was signed had to be approved by Mike Ilitch. So if he didn't want the big-name guys, if he didn't want to make the splash, he wouldn't have approved it. So Dave Dombrowski's not a rogue general manager. He's a well-respected baseball guy. Now, I definitely agree that the contract should not have been renewed, and maybe they could have parted ways at the end of the year. But in the end, I did feel like Mike Ilitch was a little bit glib in terms of talking about the man that really helped turn this franchise around and won quite a bit. This team got to 2 World Series, had a lot of great memories for this fans, and you got to remember the Tigers were just a couple more bad seasons away from losing a big chunk of their fan base. A lot of people thought in the 90s that they did lose a generation of baseball fans because year in, year out, they didn't have any chance of winning. You had no confidence that they were going to be any good. You just felt like, it's the Tigers. Then they had that abysmal season, lost 119 games, and it was terrible. But, general manager Dave Dombrowski came in and he did the best that he could with what he knew to do in terms of turning the franchise around. And when you don't bring home the big prize, then you can't be too confident in your job status. So I agree 100% with Mike Ilitch's decision, but just not how he went about it. Then he talked about, what's going to happen with the current club and the spending and things like that. And he kind of is a boastful braggadocious kind of fella. I get that because that's kind of how I am a little bit. And luckily, I have my crew of boys and people on the network to keep my ego in check. But in the end, he was asked about, hey, are you going to spend to keep this team competitive? And he's like, oh, yeah, we're going to spend. Of course, money's not an issue. What are you talking about? I'm a billionaire. I'm Mike Ilitch. What you talking about? What do you mean are we going to spend? But when you look at the moves, when you actually look at the facts, and that's what is really good about the Detroit media is they do follow up with what comments are made by owners, and we are able to really kind of, even a simple podcaster like me, a simple guy on a podcast network can realize, okay, you tell us you're going to spend, yet you brought in Jordan Zimmerman, and his deal was, pretty. It wasn't paltry in terms of a $110 million contract, $22 million per. But if you're going to spend, dude, if you're going to spend $22 million on a starting pitcher, someone who's four or 5 years removed from, Tommy John surgery, why not just go all the way? Go over the luxury tax. And I know it's easy for me to sit here and spend other people's money, but don't come out and tell me that money's not an issue. Money is an issue. Adam and I, when we first started the blog on DetroitSportsPodcast.com, Adam looked at it and said, you know what? If you just look at the numbers that are released, all he did was look at and explore the numbers back in 2013, and he said, you know what? The window is closing not because they don't have the talent, but financially, based on the contracts that you've signed with all these big guys now in their mid-30s earning well over $20 million, if you're not going to go over $189 million, it's going to be tough because the big teams like Boston, New York, the LA Dodgers, they're spending well over $200 million, well over that. And so the Jock in the Doc and Jock podcast, he called it out back in 2013. This is not sustainable if you're not going to spend. So money is an issue. And so I do believe it was a little bit of PR on the part of Mike Ilitch to come out and say that money's not an issue when it really, in fact, it is, because you got the best of the second-tier starting pitchers, but just look at what David Price signed for in Boston with Dave Dombrowski, if you paid attention. Look what Zach Greinke signed for with the Diamondbacks. The numbers are staggering, and you got to remember, I'm just in my mid-30s. What's going to happen in 10 years from now? Is the best starting pitcher going to earn $50 million a year? I better start cranking out some more kids and get me a young fella, a young lad that can throw a baseball, because it might be the perfect time when he's 18 years from now. The best starting pitcher in the league might earn $50 million, 10 years, $500 million. I really believe these contract numbers are going to grow. And if David Price set the market only to be shot down by Zach Greinke just less than a week later. So the numbers are astronomical. So I get the fact that they don't want to spend that much money, because if it can, just like in life, you can spend a lot of money rather quickly with contracts and things like that. But I just feel like Mike Ilitch owed the fans to be really honest, because the Detroit fan base is not stupid. I mean, you have very bright individuals who are looking at these things and are paying attention more than just the average fan who's like, oh, the Tigers have a good team. You have people who know what the numbers are, who's doing what, and these advanced sabermetrics really hit home at what a player can do and what his worth is. And so if you're going to come out and tell the fans that you're going to spend money and then you go out and you really don't get the guys that we feel are the best, then it's a little bit of PR, and we know that. But in the end, it'll be interesting to see if Jordan Zimmerman is the workhorse that he was in the past, hasn't missed a start in 4 years. It's going to be interesting to see. It was nice of Mike Ilitch to come out and talk, and it was nice to hear from him. Glad he's okay. We really want to know what the direction of the team is, and in the end, it kind of looks like the salary is going to be close to the luxury tax at around $189 million. He said he would peak. He might be willing to go over it, but it'll be fascinating to see if there's another signing out there that can help this team. And they're really going to need it to get back into World Series contention. So Detroit Tigers, they're the number 5 story this week in the world of Detroit sports. Number 4, interesting, as this podcast comes out, Kobe Bryant and the Los Angeles Lakers are coming to town. They're going to play at the Palace, and the Palace will have a vibe like no other, because something about Detroit and Kobe, there's this nice connection there, because we all watched Kobe grow up. We all watched here in Detroit, who's a very smart basketball fan base. We watched what he did, and we respect the fact that Kobe earned 5 rings as a professional. We defeated Kobe and Shaq. Everybody, all the analysts picked the Lakers to just come in and dominate, and the Pistons won in a 5-game sweep, as we call it, with the going to work Pistons, with a collection of talent that came together and really shined and really played as a team. The going to work Pistons were very revered here in these parts of towns, and they went out and they defeated Kobe Bryant and the Lakers. And that was back in 2004 when Kobe was at his Black Mamba status, when he was superstar Kobe, not the Kobe that we see now who's struggling and is at the tail end of his career. But he's coming back to the Palace for one more game in Detroit, and the Detroit fans will be very classy. They're going to cheer your Detroit Lions. Several of the players are going to be at the Palace. Darius Slay came out and was all giddy. He's like, ooh, I'm going to have a big sign and try to get a Kobe jersey and try to show some love. And okay, good for you, Darius. I respect that. I'm definitely that way with the athletes that I'm fond of as well. But, you just wish the Lions would just have that killer mentality like Kobe did back in his prime. I don't think a team, if Kobe was a football player, would be on a team that doesn't know how to defend a Hail Mary, if you know what I'm saying. So that's on my mind, obviously, and that story might likely show up on this Countdown podcast. But getting back to the Lakers, they're coming to town. They're going to play the Pistons. It's going to be a fun atmosphere, and it's going to be what I think is a sellout. Now, I tried to go to the game, and usually I go to one or two games with some of the guys I used to work with in a former job, and they were like, Doc, you know what they did? And I'm like, I know what they did. I'm like, oh, I knew right away. I'm like, yeah, our $5 tickets that we've been hustling for the last couple years, getting good seats for like $10 and $20. They ain't $10 and $20, are they, friends? They're like, no. Triple the price for one game once it was announced that Kobe was retiring. Triple the price. So we were like, yeah, no, we'll just save and we'll go to the game versus Golden State, where they're going to retire one of the numbers. I believe it's going to be Ben Wallace. So we'll save up for that. But yeah, triple the price to go see Kobe Bryant. No, hell no, it ain't worth it. I'm going to be enjoying family time, relaxing, and basking in the glow of the Michigan State Spartans earning their right to go to the college football playoff. But Kobe Bryant coming back to the Palace for one last time. The number 4 story in the world of Detroit sports this week. Have to give a little love to Michigan State basketball. They had a great week. They played a great game versus Louisville in a primetime ESPN game. And early on, it didn't look good for the Spartans, who weren't playing that well. But in the end, the team led by Denzel Valentine, Tum Tum Narins, has just been playing outstanding. And they came away with the victory versus Louisville. And right now, as we speak, they may finish the week the top-ranked basketball team. They should be, but in the end they didn't. They're playing a solid brand of college basketball, and really they're shedding the spotlight on what the potential for this team could be. Is there another Final Four run for Tom Izzo? Could this be the team that gets him that elusive second NCAA championship? I mean, the Michigan State basketball team really is flying a little bit under the radar as a result of the football team's great success. But Tom Izzo has a solid basketball team. If you get a chance to sit and watch this basketball team, they're rebounding well. They got a little bit of flash. I believe they started their last basketball game with a touchless alley-oop dunk, meaning that they tipped the ball off, several passes, and an alley-oop dunk without one dribble. And it's not something you see every day. It was a little bit of an exciting play, kind of a scripted play, and it came off to fruition. It was a great play, and it was kind of, a highlight play that kind of got Twitter a buzz, and seen it, I believe, on Deadspin. But the Michigan State basketball team is one that you don't want to sleep on. They play solid defense. Always a staple of Tom Izzo's team is rebounding. They're not going to get out-hustled too many times for rebounds, and they're playing a great brand of basketball, getting good looks. And what I really like is the fact that this team is unselfish. They really do, for the most part, look for high-quality, high-percentage shots, and it's a mark of a Tom Izzo team. They're well-coached. They're going to be in most games, and I just love the fact that since Tom Izzo's been there, since now the last few seasons, they've been out there willing to play tough teams. And even though they may have been, younger teams that Tom Izzo brought to the table versus Duke, versus North Carolina, versus Louisville, what you've been seeing is he plays the tough teams early so that his teams can see what it's like to play tough competition. And that has been one of the secrets to their success and why they've been able to have these deep runs so many years in the NCAA tournament, because the stage is not new. They play Louisville. They play Duke. They play Kansas. They play Kentucky. They play the elite in college basketball week in and week out. And season in, season out, they're seeing what it takes to be the best team out there. And that's why when the tournament comes, even in a year like 2015, when most people didn't think they could make a Final Four run, they end up doing it. And, all credit to Tom Izzo. He is looking for that elusive number 2 championship, and he might have a strong chance. Denzel Valentine, night in, night out, is playing strong. There's going to be emergence of new leaders, and so I'm going to be dialed in to see what this team does throughout the Big Ten, because the Big Ten is a grind. That's really how you see what a team can look like. And then when March comes around, oh baby, that's when Tom Izzo gets his work done. Michigan State basketball, their early success this year, starting off the year 9-0. the number 2 story this week in the world of Detroit sports. And now the number 2 story. So many of you think, okay, if you've been listening, is John going to put Michigan State 1 or 2? Is John going to rank the Lions play at the end of the Green Bay game number 1? He has a history now for the last couple weeks of making the Lions the number 1 story. So I'll give you a second to kind of think, what's the doc going to do? Where's he going to rank the 2 top stories on this list? The number 2 story in the world of Detroit sports, according to the doc, the Hail Mary play. We all watched prime time Thursday night, the Lions' second consecutive Thursday night game. We defeated Philadelphia and handily on Thanksgiving, and many people were excited. You know what's funny with the Lions is we're so starving for success. The Lions fan base, the media, entertainers, people who are on the radio are trying in any way to put out this message of hope, this message of positivity in any sense regarding the Lions. But when you sit here and you really look at it objectively, you can't be objective and say that you have hope with the Lions. If you come out there and believe, just based on the eye test, that the Lions are going to win 9 games in a row, then you're really discounting the past. You're discounting, and I know some people will say, well, each team's different, da-da-da-da-da, but no. The Lions supersede that. The Lions stink. The Lions organization, the Lions stench, that year to year, I'm not even going to go year to year. I'm just going to say the Lions organization is abysmal. And so you had a situation that came in off a 3-game winning streak, and you had people on our network even saying, hey, here's the likely scenarios you need to watch. Get out of here. What scenarios you need to watch for the Lions to make the playoffs. All I need to know is when the Lions roll out each and every year, under this management and these coaches, they don't have a chance to win. Period. And all the fans out there that watch and sit there, they just eat cornbread and they have hope, because it sucks to really look at it and say to yourself, and I'm now able to do it, that the Lions have no chance under this current management. Now, next year, there's going to be new hope because Ernie Accorsi is going to go out there and hopefully bring in the guy that's the best for this team. But when you really look at it objectively, the Lions don't have a chance to win because the coaches don't put the players in the best positions. The players that are picked are not the best guys that fit any system. Even if Jim Caldwell picked guys that he believed fit his system, they're not the best because Jim Caldwell's a Lion. He has that Lion stench written all over him. And then, you play a solid game early on versus Green Bay, and we're like, hey now, this is the resemblance of a solid football team. What do we see? Scoring drives, the offense looks efficient, the defense is smothering Green Bay. Great. So what do the Lions do? In the second half, they take their foot off the pedal. And the old Lions offense returned, where they run the ball, run, pass, 3 and outs. They don't have they flashed the freaking last 6 possessions, early in the third quarter. It was like punt, field goal, turnover. Joy. That's what we're really looking forward to see with the Lions offense after that hot, 17-0 start. It was 17-0, and I fell into it on our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast. I'm excited. I get it. I'm a fan of the team, and definitely I don't care if I'm objective or not. I just go with the flow and comment on the games as they happen. But I was excited. I'm like, okay, we're in the money here. We're doing damage. And in the end, they reverted back to the old Lions. And then you get the end of the game which is likely the reasons why Jim Caldwell is going to get his ass fired, because he cannot manage the end of the game properly. He seems lost. He seems disorganized. And I'm really quite surprised for a man that seems so composed to be so flustered and so disorganized at the end of games. So you have a situation where the Lions are leading and Green Bay needs points to win the game. Field goal wins the game, touchdown wins the game. So you have a play where, the Lions defender the Lions defender grabbed Aaron Rodgers' face mask, and whether or not you believe that was a penalty or not, you have no reason at all to have your hands anywhere near his helmet, because if you follow that play prior to the Hail Mary, it was a hook and ladder play. The Green Bay Packers threw the ball, and then the Green Bay Packers, lateraled the ball back to Aaron Rodgers, and there was nobody within 10 yards of him. So he could not throw the ball with a forward motion. So all they had to do was let him just run a couple yards and just push him down. That's all they had to do. You needed not go anywhere near his face, knees, anything. Our standard tackle, you could have pushed him down. The game would have been over. You could have let Aaron Rodgers run 10 yards. There was nobody behind him. He was not able to make a forward pass. In the hook and ladder play, all it is a bunch of laterals backwards. Aaron Rodgers could not throw the ball forward. So it just goes to show you that the players have a lack of awareness of the situation. Whose fault is that? Coaching. That needs to be drilled in your players until their ears bleed. here's what you do in this situation, over and over and over, every situation. The end of the game scenarios that the Lions put out there make you so angry that I thought about re-enrolling back in college to get a degree in coaching, to teach these guys. What the hell are you doing? What are you guys practicing? The end of the game. So then Jim Caldwell, doesn't believe that it's going to be a Hail Mary. Okay, fine. Whatever you say, boss. So he doesn't believe it's a Hail Mary, doesn't put the right defensive formation. Aaron Rodgers does his thing, runs as far as he possibly could, got as much momentum as he could to throw the Hail Mary, and we all seen it now. I've seen it 500 times. I actually like seeing it more and more. It just reiterates what a garbage organization the Lions are right now. It just reiterates that at the end of the games, they got the worst game manager in the league, Jim Caldwell, and he doesn't know what he's doing. And then it's marked by the fact that he came out and said that he didn't believe it was a Hail Mary. All right, man, if that's the case, you didn't cover it properly. You cost the Lions a victory, and everyone's seen it, and it's just another, stain on the organization. That play is going to be replayed a million times. We're all going to relive it. It's going to be on Aaron Rodgers' highlight reel when he goes into the Hall of Fame. We're going to see that Hail Mary day in, day out, forever. And it's all because of the Lions. And it cost you a victory. It cost you some momentum. Now, I didn't believe that they were going to win out. They would have won 4 games in a row. They would have been 5-7. I truly didn't believe they were going to win out. Never. Give me a break. One game, 1 or 2 games, they're going to stumble. Now it's going to be interesting to see how this team responds after a devastating loss. But, all the superlatives, all the adjectives, all the verbs, all the language regarding the Lions has been said. Nothing's new is going to be said by me. So in the end, another wasted opportunity to get a victory, and hopefully this is another sign, another mark that can get everybody gone. Clean house, that's what needs to happen for this organization. And for anyone right now, until new management that's trying to sell you hope, they're just blowing smoke up your ass, and you don't want to hear that. And I'm not trying to do that. I'm not blowing smoke up no one's ass, especially not the Detroit Lions. They've done a lot of terrible things, and I think with a new regime, the one thing we hope to see is proper game management, especially because we've seen it now with the Tigers. Brad Ausmus in game wasn't that solid, and now you see what a real organization, the Michigan State football team, what they do at the end of the game, and it was markedly different than what you saw from your professional football team. So Detroit Lions, Hail Mary, blowing the game. Number 2 story this week, Detroit Sports. Number 1 story, baby. Let that music settle. I'm going to play it for a couple seconds here and just accept the great music that I'm about to play. Enjoy. Michigan State, baby. We did it. Beginning of the year, goal. Get to the playoff, see what happens. Now you're in the race. You are in the conversation as we speak on December 6th, 2015. It was great. The environment in which I watched the game was fun. I was at a Christmas party at my wife's work. It was fabulous. Got to sit with a really pro-Sparty crowd. Got to sit with, my father-in-law, enjoy the game in peace. Had a couple drinks, and I just sat there and watched play after play, and I'm like, oh boy, here we go. It was a tight football game, and you were like, my goodness. You watched a tight first half, and it was like, wow. Field goals? Are you kidding me? It was a situation where we knew. I knew, my father-in-law knew, everybody knew. All right, this is going to be a fourth quarter game. Let's strap in. And then early in the fourth quarter, I believe, just before the fourth quarter, Iowa throws a deep bomb, and they take the lead, and Michigan State scrambles, and there's like 9 minutes left, and then it happened. Michigan State said, okay, this is our moniker. This is what we're going to do. Smash mouth football. 9 minutes on the clock. They took off 22 plays, several runs consecutively, and you ran the ball down Iowa's throat. You manned up. Man football. That's what football is all about, is smash mouth, use your strength, run the football. Connor Cook was hurt, was ineffective, was missing throws all night. And what we saw at the end of the game was some of the most exciting things I've ever seen in college football. I mean, you had Michigan State inch up. You had a fourth down play where Connor Cook scrambled, and you had, referee decisions. Was it a first down? Was it not? And luckily, Michigan State didn't get screwed by the refs. Check plus. We ran it in. He at first was stopped. Then that extra second, third effort got the ball over, and we won the game. And it was a jubilation, exhilaration, excitement. Something I've never, that I've experienced now quite a bit with the Spartans. And it's just, and it continued. It was amazing. I cheered loud, bear hugged. My wife's boss bear hugged me. They were dancing, celebrating, because it really is the culmination and stamp of the Michigan State program. The second year in the college football playoff, Michigan State's in it. You got Clemson number 1, Alabama 2, Michigan State 3, and Oklahoma number 4. We're going to play Alabama December 31st. And just the whole now scenario of how things went. Winning the Big Ten title game versus Iowa, waiting till noon today, the whole talk about now Michigan State, where are they going to finish, and then seeing Michigan State flash on the screen was something I'll never forget. I tweeted it along the way, and it was fun. And being a Spartan alum, I don't even have to mention anything else. Is just that it's fun being a Michigan State Spartan right now. I've had great memories. They've provided me with so many great memories in terms of victories, celebrations, dance videos. I feel like, it can't get any better than this. I don't know how I'd react to even a victory on New Year's Eve. I don't know how I'd react if they got to the title game. So this point in time in terms of Michigan State athletics, they're the number 1 athletic program in the country. I'm sitting here saying it. They are the number 1 athletic program in the country. I mean, in 2015, you had your basketball team and your football team make the Final Four. Who else can say that? And it does sound ridiculous when you say it, but it's not out of the realm of possibility that the basketball team and the football team could win the national title in the same time period. Michigan State, has great coaches all around at the 2 top sports. Tom Izzo, Hall of Fame coach. Mark D'Antonio is doing amazing things, and he's stamping his legacy as a college football coach. And the Michigan State program, it's all good. And for those of you who aren't enjoying it, well, that's your loss. You can enjoy whatever you want to enjoy, but all I can do is, tell you what it's like on my end to be part of a current situation where your team is now in the class of Alabama. It's unbelievable. Now, we do have a long way to go. It'd be nice to actually win versus Alabama like Ohio State did last year. It'll be nice to be in the conversation to maybe win the whole thing, but you're in the dance. You can't win it if you're not in it. And Michigan State brought it all year, and not only did they jump from number 5 to number 4, they actually got the respect of the committee. They earned the respect of the committee and got the number 3 spot. And that's all you can ask for is that, people saw what they did. They saw that beautiful 9-play drive. They saw the resilience. They saw the play of Michigan State. They garnered that respect. They're the number 3 seed, and let's go, baby. December 31st. It's going to be a fun time. Everything about being a Spartan fan in terms of athletics is great. It's all gravy, and it's a fun time to be able to kind of sit here and just banter about regarding what it's like to be a Spartan fan. It was nail-biting, it was gripping, it was exhilarating. This is what it's like this is what the perks of being, attached to a team that you've watched and you were a part of. So I do believe that this year, my fandom and my attachment has grown deeper with college football. It's never happened. It has never happened where I didn't show more loyalty to the Lions than I did to Michigan State. But with all the turmoil with the Lions, I can sit here and say on December 6th, I'm more attached and more into the Michigan State run than I am with the Lions. Still a fan of the Lions. I still watch. I still bitch and moan. Still try to figure out why, but I'm in it. All you got to do is just look at the reaction of, superfan. He just sits down and just kind of has that look. Go find it. Just type in superfan reaction to the Hail Mary, and you just see, the devastation. You see the, just pure like, what the hell's going on here? Really? Hail Mary? First or second longest Hail Mary to lose a game. Green Bay's the Green Bay's the first team to not lead a game at all within the 60 minutes at all and still came away with a victory. That's what the Lions do. Anything at all negative and anything at all like that goes haywire, you can relate to the Lions. They've done it all. And then on the extreme opposite, Michigan State has provided exhilaration. I mean, they win titles. They've won now the Big Ten title 2010, 2013, 2015, I believe. And it's just been a fabulous ride these last 5 years. And I'm so happy to enjoy it, so happy to be where I'm at, being able to talk about it on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. And this is what I like to do. And it's thank you for everyone that downloads it and been supporting us. Thank you for those that tweet us at Detroit Podcast. I want to thank our sponsors, Fanatic U, Detroit Beard Collective. I want to thank the DetroitSportsNation.com website. This project has taken off the ground because of their support, and they host all our podcasts. Each and every one that we do, they allow us to just post to their site, and I really appreciate the respect that they've shown me and the entire network in terms of allowing us to, put our content on their website. And we were thankful each and every show. Even if it's said or even if it's spoken or unspoken, I hope that they know what they've done for us. And for anyone out there that's helped us with this podcast, you know who you are. You've helped us create a network that we're proud of, that we're able to, as passionate Detroit's fans, to put out there week in, week out in an uncensored way. And it just means it's just great. I can just, react to the sports, do what I want, unrestricted, unfiltered, uncensored, and that's what we do. Thank you for listening. This has been the Detroit Sports Countdown Podcast. week in, week out, every Sunday. Top 5 stories in the world of Detroit sports. Thank you to Kenny Franzel, contributor to our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast, producer of this fine podcast that you just listened to, DetroitSportsPodcast.com. See everybody next week.